Hi there, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Gaps and Gains. This episode and episodes going forward will be different to the initial ones that I did. I thought rather than me just rambling on about a topic out of context, I would use this podcast as an opportunity to answer questions. So, questions I'm asked by customers or prospects or people I meet, and I can share those questions and answers with you, which might help you in your business too, and might be more helpful than my missives. So that's how I'm going to go ahead with this. Please let me know if you think it would be better served if I do something different, but I'll do this for a few episodes and see how we get on with that. Feedback always welcome. So, with that being said, let's jump straight in. First question is, why does my business feel harder to run the more it grows? And I think that's something that a lot of small business owners struggle with. Service businesses struggle with it. And it's because when you start your business, it fits into your head. Who needs to do what, who you need to do what for, what happens next, what has been done, what's still outstanding. All of those things fit inside your head, and initially quite comfortably. And then you get to a point where perhaps it fits inside your head, provided you've got an assistant who can help you do that. But that simply runs out of road as your business grows. And if you've got any ambition on growing your business, then at some stage you will need more people, and people can't read your mind. They don't know what's in your head. You also don't know what's in their head. And that does make it quite difficult to keep track of things. And that's why it gets harder as you grow if you don't put the right things in place. So, from as early as possible, starting to put some systems and processes in place might seem like it's overkill. It might seem like it's unnecessarily because, hey, you can juggle all the balls, you keep all the plates spinning, but you'll soon find that that becomes, if nothing else, it becomes really exhausting, and it then constrains the growth of your business. So I would suggest that to combat it, start as early as you can with putting some processes, some systems in place, some minimal automation. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be magical, but just something that helps you. So the way I like to look at it is the stuff that you are remembering to do at the moment is taking up brain power. It's taking up resources from you and your one or two people that might be working with you. And of course, if you've in that scenario, the one or two people that might be working with you, you get to a point where actually they constantly have to come to you for the answers because it's all in your head. So all those things that you remember that you're keeping track of, if you can outsource that memory and the keeping track of to a CRM and an automation platform, then you'll find you've got more scope. You free up a lot of your resources. And it also means that your team can just carry on and do their job because the system will tell them what they need to do for whom or what's delayed or where to follow up. So, and it's not a case of just letting them run wild. You do start small, baby steps. And that's why it's great to start with it, even if it's just you, because you can get training wheels for this kind of thing. And then as your business grows, you'll find it's a lot easier. So it gets harder because it doesn't fit in your head anymore, and you have to rely on other people and they have to rely on you. But if you can have like a skeleton in the structure, then everyone can lean on that. And that would be your systems, your processes, and automation that you might put in. So let's have a look. Our next question is it possible to grow a business without it consuming more of my life? I'd say it depends on the kind of business you're trying to grow. Some businesses will only grow by consuming your life. And generally, those businesses scale, and then you can have an exit at the end of it. And then you might find that you feel that it was worth it, that it consumed your life for a while. So it really just depends on what kind of business you're building. It also depends on where you are in life. If you're 22 and single, the business taking over your life and consuming all the hours you have and all the energy you have, that's okay. I'm on the far side of 40, and I've got 2 daughters, and I have a wife, and I have a household. So the idea of business taking up all my life and consuming all my time is not realistic, and you make a choice in that. So I would definitely say that yes, it is possible to do it, but you have to actively decide. I was talking to someone the other day at a networking event, and I made the point, because they were talking about overwhelm and always being on the phone, and customers or prospects wanting immediate responses and everything. And the way that I look at it is, I don't run an emergency service. I'm not the fire service. I'm not the ambulance. I'm not a locksmith. There's nothing that I do that creates or is born out of an emergency. So that being said, of my business, my phone is on do not disturb until 2 o'clock in the afternoon every day. So I have made the decision that I don't have phone calls unless they are scheduled in the diary. I don't have calls randomly during the course of the day, because I'm productive. And then in the afternoon, when my productivity starts to wane and my technical focus and everything starts to wane, then I do the phone calls. But you have to remind yourself, as you build and grow your business, what kind of business is it that you want to build? And then you put the tools and the mechanisms in place that allows you to build that kind of business. And every now and again, just have a check. If you feel like you're just hanging on by the tiger's tail, then you just need to decide, is that still what you want to do, or do you want to start engineering your business so that that's not necessary? So it's not necessarily wrong that your business consumes your life. You can certainly change that, but you have to work at it as actively as building the business itself. You have to decide what business you're building, how do you want it to impact your life, and then build the business that way. And that'll come with compromise. Everything's a compromise. So moving on, how do I build a lead generation system that does not depend on me personally? So I think lead generation itself is an activity. It's not something that you build and then you leave it and you don't have to look at it again, because if you're doing social media ads, meta ads, anything like that, then you need to go with a change. Things work, the effectiveness starts to go downhill depending on changes in the platform, how much your competition is spending, anything like that. So that's an ongoing thing. And of course, the short answer to, so that it doesn't depend on you, is you can outsource that to someone else, or you can employ someone that's their focus, and then you just manage that function. But you want to be careful with that. You don't want to abdicate that responsibility. When it comes to actually managing the leads that you're generating, that's where automation can really come in to its own for you, where yes, there's an activity going on for generating leads, but when a lead comes in, the initial communication that goes out, making sure the staff knows about what needs to happen next, there's tasks can be created, follow-up sequences, opportunity management, those kinds of things you can definitely do with automation. That'll help you so that you don't feel like every lead that comes in, you have to deal with it immediately, and nothing happens unless you do. And that's, again, even if you're a one-man band, it's just you in the business, that's still a great way to run things, because then you know that there's a reliable follow-up, acknowledgement of the lead coming in, and communication that goes out. And it's also a consistent message that then goes out to new inquiries. and manage it that way, rather than what happens most of the time is without automation or systems in place, the experience that your new lead or prospect has depends entirely on how busy you are and your availability, which is not sustainable, and will make growing your business a lot harder. So you can look at potentially outsourcing, or handing off the implementation and the mechanism of the lead generation itself, depending on what you're doing. And you can certainly hand the heavy lifting of the initial communication and the follow-up for the leads to automation to make it really robust and reliable. And then your involvement sort of moves further down the journey then. So you're not responsible for that immediate initial response, but you can then you then start filtering out that you only deal with those who have indicated that they're really serious, rather than just tire kickers, or might be interested now but might only be ready to do business with you a year from now or 6 months from now. Depending on your business, those scenarios do exist, and you want to allocate your personal time to the best leads that come in and to those that need the business right away. So that's how I would deal with that side. Going. Next question, we've got, what is the difference between automation and AI, and does it matter for your business? So there is a difference, and they, in some respects, at times, they can go hand in hand, but they do different things. So for instance, if I would look at it and say that automation is really good at doing the things that's effectively the same for everyone. Now, there can be some differences there. So let's take a plumbing, gas engineer, heating engineer kind of business. Now, you can have boiler inquiries, you can have emergency inquiries, the pipes burst in the bathroom and it needs fixing, and you can have inquiries about gas safety certification. So let's take those three. Now, you're the same business, but you do want to respond differently to those. But those categories are fairly fixed, and you can easily, at the point of inquiry, allocate those to the right place, and then automation can take care of it. You don't need to go down the route of having AI try and work out, well, where does this lead belong and what kind of response do they need? So automation is, if you think about traveling, automation is a train journey. You can get off at any station, you can get on at any station, but the train is only going to stop at these particular stations unless you change trains. Where AI is perhaps more of a bus journey, or just you in your car. You can go from A to B and you can leave your house with no consideration as to where you're going to stop to fill up the tank. Are you going to stop? Do you need to stop? Are you going to pick up a coffee and a sandwich on the way, or are you just going to power through and drive all the way? So for those scenarios where things are a bit more malleable, AI is particularly good for that. So let's say, for instance, we do this in Google review systems that we put in place for customers, where you ask someone, will they fill out some feedback survey? So you don't just send them off to Google all on their own, but you ask them if they'll fill out. So you only ask them 3-4 questions. And then at the end of that, you just say thank you. But then you can take the answers of those questions, you can give that to AI, and you can say, based on these answers, generate a Google review. It then puts together a paragraph or two based on those, which you can then send to the customer in an email and say, hey, thanks for completing the survey. I've taken the liberty of compiling a review of what you said. If you're happy with this, please click here and share it on Google, and that helps our business grow. So that's a good combination of automation and AI, but you don't need AI for the whole thing. So for most businesses, the answer is there is a difference and it does matter, and it's the use case that matters for it. But I would say, whilst AI is great, definitely start with a simple automations first if you don't have that kind of stuff in your business yet. Don't just go straight in on AI, because there's a level of thinking and guardrails and everything required around how you use AI, that you'll learn a lot about by using automation. And you'll also find actually an awful lot of what you want to do, you can do with automation. Yes, AI is a shiny new thing, but it doesn't replace what you can do with automation for your business. And then our last question is, who are you and why should I trust your advice on my business? So yes, that's a very fair question. Who am I? So I started doing this kind of work. I previously ran an electrical contracting business and did home automation installations and that kind of thing, and had to let that business go. And I was doing a lot of this automation stuff in my own business. So I then decided, well, actually, I enjoy this side of things. I can do that. So that was 2014. So I've been doing this since then. In between that, I wrote a Amazon bestseller called Barefoot Business, on systems and processes automation in business. And I also ended up going on a detour for a few years, building a CRM and automation platform and transitioning that when that business was acquired by a company in Canada, and then built a couple of recruitment software tools with some AI involvement and everything in there. And then I've now come in the last 18 months or so, I've come back to doing this side of things, which I absolutely love doing. So that's me. I've just got a lot of experience on business process, systems, automation, creating software tools, implementing software tools. So it's what I've been doing for the last 12, nearly 13 years now. So that's me. The business is Blind Spot Works. And that is why I feel that I can help you. You don't have to listen to my advice on your business. What I do is what I love, and I know that I'm good at it. So I can help you get results. And I think those are all the questions we'll have time for today. So if you have any questions, please fire them over. I'll try and answer them in person, but I also will then potentially use them in a future episode. And as I said at the start, this is a new format that I'm going with, so let me know if you find this useful and or interesting. And thank you again for joining me, and I hope you'll be here for the next episode of Gaps and Gains. I'm Pieter de Villiers. Blind Spot Works. Find the gaps, fix the business. Take care.